Alright, so we know about the running of the application. This is going to run and start up that one form there, the first form. And this is going to be some closing information, which I'll show you. Now in our form here, you can see we're deriving from the form, systemwindows.forms, that's up there. We can use that. And what we're doing here, as we move down, after we initialize our component, you can see that we're working with some message box information here. Company name, product name, startup path, product version, like I said. You can just type in the application object dot, and then you can see all the things that I was talking about. Events are going to be the little thunderbolts there. We know methods are these little purple things. And then properties as well. And you can see what you have available. There's a lot available there. So anyway, this is going to pop up when that form gets started, right after it initializes here. We also have this add message filter, like I mentioned. Now, we also have an application exit event here as well. So let's talk about that first. Okay, when we pop up, we're going to do and show some message boxes here, quite a lot. But when we want to exit, we're actually going to use this syntax. Plus equals a new event handler. I've talked about event handlers already. And then we're going to do this with the form underscore on exit. That's going to be the, as we move down here, this is going to be the method that's going to handle that exit functionality. So here we go. If we look at that, this is just going to tell us that we need to use this delegate, the event handler delegate, to work with this event. And most GUI-based events are going to use this event handler delegate, just like this. We're going to tell it what we're going to use to actually control the event, what code is going to actually get executed. And normally it's going to handle within that object sender event args that you're going to process there, as you see here. So down there, after we do that, we have to specify the same name. It's void, it doesn't return anything, private, and object sender, like I said, event args, EV args, and then we're just going to show that the event was fired. That's it. Just going to handle the event that way. And I'll show you that when we run the application. And also, this message filter. Like I said, application.add message filter. So we have this variable here, MSG filter. We slide up a little bit more and we see that here. This is just giving you details about the application class. Don't let it confuse you. We're talking about how to work with the application class. We'll dive more into the Windows forms like I mentioned. This is just giving those details of how things work. And you can see that we have something called My Message Filter. And if we slide all the way to the bottom, you're going to see that we are working with an interface here, iMessage Filter, which allows us to work with the message filter for the application class. So what we do here is we create a pre-filter message method here that's going to handle, that's going to work with these messages here. These are going to be messages that are dealing with things like the right button down, Windows messages, and the left button double click, for example. This is similar to what you would do with Win32 programming. You'll notice that if you slide all the way to the top, we're dealing with Microsoft.Win32. This is what we're using here. And this is the older way of dealing with things from the Win32 way of life. And you can still do that within the .NET universe, and this is how you do it. This is how you handle messages without using other forms of messages in a different way, in a looping type way. And this is working with the application class. So, long story short, without going into too much detail, because I don't want to confuse people, this is going to handle certain messages, just the right button down and the left button double click. And then this is going to allow the ability to process those. So when you see that code in there, that's what it's doing. And at the end, after we actually do that exit, because that's processing messages, and then we're also going to be exiting using the event here, application exit, as I showed you. And that's going to show a message box when we actually exit. So what we do is we get it to run, we open our form, we show some information here right after we initialize things. That's up top as well, but it's the same code here. Then we can process some messages that you can interact with the application. And then after you decide that you want to close the application by quitting the application, maybe from a button or something like that, then you're actually going to see that we're closing, because this is going to drop off after the run is now coming back because the form is closing. So we're going to come back here in our main, right here, and then we're going to just show some information that we're closing. And you can see that we can still get the application class here. So let's just run it. It's going to make a lot of sense when we run it. So we have a warning. Let's take a peek at that. So we have EnvisionTech OHG as the company name, my product, just general name. We have the startup path, as you can see, title and then the body. We have just a product version. Now we get our generic empty form. We double click and right click. Well, nothing's happening. Why is that? I'll just close it and then I'll show you why that's happening. So we close it. Now we get that on exit event fired because we're on exit, we're exiting. Now we get that closing, which is right here. If you can see behind here, right after the run. More product information, etc., application variables. Now to get that other information to run, what we need to do is find where we're handling those messages and get rid of this return false, because what that does is it returns without processing anything because it returns right here. So we'll keep that there, comment it out, and then we can process. So we'll just go back in, and you can do that as well. Now we have our window. Double click. You can see left button double click. And then we right click, and then right button was down. It was up too, but it was down to start. So that's how you would take care of that. And there we go, just to get out of that. So that's how you can work with the application class to do some things within your form application. Not all of the things that we did are required to be handled or taken care of this way, but it's just interesting to see how that application class interacts with our form to make things work for us.